back to the Glosser channel, everyone. I am here today to speak to a very unique individual who has more important information for us regarding that crucial or critical document commonly known as the birth certificate. Welcome here today. I believe you do have some new information you'd like to share with us about names and birth certificates.
Yes, hi, thanks so much. The information is not exactly new, but it is important, and it's a different interpretation from all the work that we've done to date. And it will combine a lot of the previous research that thousands have done on the whole topic, but with a whole different angle to it.
So most people who know you commonly would refer to you by the name of Korbus.
Yes, but admittedly the name Korbus is copyrighted, copy claimed, with all rights claimed, none of them ever waived, and no one has got permission to use the name in any form or fashion on any document or over the radio in any way whatsoever. Now, what makes this interesting and about the name, and why I do this and why I say that, it's very important for people that they never actually give people their names. Because you see, when we were born and when we came into this beautiful world, we didn't have a name.
Yes.
We just came in as a baby.
Yes.
People called you whatever, you know, the guy that needs a nappy change, whatever it was. And at some point in time, people started thinking about what should they call the child, what should they call the baby. Sometimes they choose beforehand, but we definitely didn't come into the world live born with a name. It's something that got given to us later at some point in time, and something that we at some point in time took possession of at the time when we could actually pronounce our own name.
Are you saying that because somebody else issued you with your name, it's not yours?
It's not yours. It's not yours. We'd like to think that we own our names. Yeah, we probably do to some extent, but if you would be thinking about Gandhi or about Jesus or about any of these guys out there, are they around right now?
No, of course not.
No, but their names are.
Yes.
So did they take their names with them?
That's an interesting point.
Yeah, this is what I'm getting at. Your name stays behind, because in time immortal, depending on whether you made history and they built statues for you and did all sorts of other funny shit, your name will stay behind and stay on the records and be used forever after. Now, in the system, the global mess that we're in, with the, whether you call them the Masons or the Illuminati or the Anunnaki or the guys that's enslaving the planet, they thrive on the use of that name, because they formed a entity, a legal corporative entity around that name, and they're trading on that name. And people do not know it, but I've worked with people quite closely within the government system. Now, if I say government, I don't mean the people that have control over us. I mean the people that have got no authority over us whatsoever without our consent. To me, that is what government means. It's a corporate entity. Because there are two governments left on the planet, or two authorities left on the planet that are not corporated. That would probably be North Korea, which everybody gets excited about, and Iran, in which a lot of shit has happened lately. And this is exactly why those two countries have not yet converted into corporate ownership. They're still sovereign and they're still independent, and that's why the whole world has been at war with them since heaven knows how long ago. Because they're under pressure to convert and to become incorporated and not to be independent anymore. Now, that has happened with all the countries since pre-1933, with a slow usurping of governments taking over real beautiful countries that were sovereign in their own right. And then slowly this incorporated thing started to crawl in.
Who would you say is behind those changes, or that level of aggression to get them to conform or convert?
Well, it's not a level of aggression. This is the interesting thing. It's something that we created. You see, so we are responsible for it, we've funded it, we've consented to it, and it's a contract that is binding on us. But similarly to the birth certificate, which brings us back to the name, somebody had to initially agree to using that name on a piece of paper. And there starts the whole problem. Once that name got committed onto form, in other words, giving the name form, that entity got a separate life, which only lived on paper, which is a flat piece of A4 with stuff written on it. And that is called a document. Now, once the name has been externalized and put onto a document, and by using the term document, you are floating in space as an empty vessel with that name, and that calls document. In other words, in shipping vessels and in maritime terminology, which dock did you mean? Which document? Which is the word for document. So anything on paper, you're starting to externalize stuff which has got nothing to do with you and me, because a document can be lying out somewhere. Somebody can pick it up and say, hey, this is interesting.
Are you therefore referring to the concept of a dead corporate entity as opposed to the live living being, live living man?
Correctly, yeah. And once I've given you my name, if I tell you, I will give you my name, and I give you my name, and I say to you, I give you my name, and my name is Korbus, that name then is yours. It was intellectual property that I have ownership of to some extent, and legal use of, and lawful use of. But why it can't ever belong to me is because when I'm gone, the name will still be around. On all those documents, people will still talk about me afterwards, like we talk about everybody that has moved on. And the name continues, although the living entity has gone somewhere else. You know, where exactly, so it's a whole different chapter. But the interesting thing is that once that name has been given and accepted, we think we are the name. We have a name, but you are not a name. And this is the interesting thing. So now that I've given you my name, if I did, which I didn't, I will be nameless. In other words, now you can use all sorts of methods to try and communicate with me. You see, because you can ask me, who are you? No can do. I can't answer that question.
The definition of the word you comes into play.
Absolutely.
That's what you're driving at.
Yeah. Now the system spells you. Words are very interesting. I'm not a linguist, but words are really fascinating, especially when we go into things like quantum grammar. The word you in the system is spelled E-W-E. The female sheep.
Sheep, yes.
That's right. And it could also just be the U.
The letter U.
Capital letter, yeah.
Yes.
U, one of the vowels. So when I say the word you, which one do I mean? And if you use the correct one, which is Y-O-U as a word, that's plural.
Yes.
You cannot be singular. In other words, I can't ask you anything. I can ask John something. I can ask Peter something. And instead of saying, John, please give me the water, we have been taught to say, John, won't you please give me the water? You see, and there comes the deception in language.
Where would you say that definition of the word you comes from? Because you're obviously presenting a point of view that is new or unfamiliar to most people. The definition of the word you.
Yeah.
Where does your definition come from? If someone said to me, use the word you to me, I wouldn't think they were talking to two people.
It's a word that should never be used because of the thing called spelling. And the English language, unfortunately, is the language of the occult. Now, occult simply meaning that which is hidden, nothing that's evil or sinister, just means it's hidden. And with the Shakespearean thing coming in and the way that the Shakespeare plays and things were put together and the weird way that they spoke and wrote and changed terminologies and things, and the Bible is written in similar way of using words. In that came very Masonic principles and interpretations, and the language has been developed, the English language has been developed as the language of enslavement and the language of spelling. And spelling means to cast spells.
Yes.
And the moment I can cast a spell and I can call this beautiful person across me or the beautiful man across me, refer to him as you, that guy is absolutely in a different world. Because I'm not using his name. I'm not speaking to the actual entity that's sitting in front of me. I'm referring to something that could be anything. It could be plural, it could be you, it could be a female sheep. How do you know? You see what I've just done?
Yes.
So I could say, how does John know? Why don't we speak that way? How come we've learned to use this word all the time? I can't say to my child, Johnny, do this. It's too bloody direct. It's rude. You see, so we make it a little bit softer. Oh, Johnny, won't you do this? And in there comes the softer approach. So we've learned with language to be indirect, and English specifically. Now, in other languages, like in Afrikaans as an example, and of course English isn't my language at all, I really battle with English. I don't do the English thing very well because I grew up in a different culture, coming from South Africa. Now, in Afrikaans, the word for you is singular. It's called jy, just J with a Y, it's called jy. And it can only be singular. and in heaps of other languages across the planet, that U is not a plural.
So the English language, you would say, is used as a method or a tool.
To enslave, to control and to enslave.
A grammatical deception?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
And your research has found this. Obviously you're not the only person now saying this, or whose study and research has revealed this.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Anything that you write down on a piece of paper by using words is the casting of spells, because you cannot write a word without spelling it correctly.
Yes.
And if people don't believe that it's called cursing or cussing, swear words,
Yes.
spelling, casting spells, if you look at a computer screen, I'm not going to do it now because of the situation we're in with the interview, but if you would have a computer screen and you were doing something on a word processor and you see where you're busy typing, you'd have a little dot thingy there all the time to show you where you should be typing.
A cursor?
Now, why would they call it the cursor, but not just a cute little dot? Because it tells you what they're doing. You are busy cursing by using the cursor with which to cast spells. It's that deeply written into the system.